Hello everyone, my name is Jana Wolff.
And my name is Michael Salamon. And this is the Sleeve Chef.
I want to give a big thank you to WMAR for having us, for the Comprehensive Obesity Management Program and GBMC's Marketing Department. And I want to give a big thank you to our special guest, Melissa, and everyone joining us. So, why don't we start by our guest taster, Melissa, telling us a little bit about herself.
So I'm Melissa, and I had my sleeve surgery in June of 2016 with Dr. Bello, and to date I've lost about 125 pounds.
Awesome, very cool.
And you've probably seen me around talking about Run GBMC, and come join us.
Yes.
So what time can people join you on Saturdays?
Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock at the South Chapman building of the GBMC complex. We are welcoming runners, walkers, run-to-walkers, everybody who wants to just get out and get some movement in. You can do 1 mile, you can do 2 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles. We will help you through whatever you want to accomplish.
And the coolest thing was that Melissa and I were talking before the show, and really, like she said, you could be a walker, you could be a jogger, it doesn't matter. You just come, make friends, have fun, and it'll be a really cool experience that you can have with other patients alike. So Thank you so much. We're going to have you up in just a few to taste test everything that we make.
Okay, fabulous.
All right. So what are we doing today?
Oh, so we have a really, really exciting menu. I'm super excited. I love Italian food. Jana, I'm sure as well, loves Italian food. You know, you think of the pastas, fettuccine alfredo, lasagna, you know, meatballs, just all the classics that come to mind with Italian food. But really one of the major concerns for bariatric patients is that, you know, after Italian food, I mean, mine was fettuccine alfredo. I loved fettuccine alfredo and lasagna as well. And so our real thought here was, how could we take these classic recipes and make them healthier and make them much more bariatric friendly?
Right, because a lot of people think, okay, I can't eat that whole section of food, basically.
Exactly.
You know, that whole genre of food. But meanwhile, you can make these really yummy, home-style kind of feeling foods and still enjoy with all of your friends and family.
Right, absolutely. And that's what's really important here, is really focusing on how can we, not what I can eat, but how can I take that recipe that was previously that I ate before, and how can I make it healthy to fit my new lifestyle now?
Right.
That's really a key focus here with our feast. So we are going to take a couple of classics. We're going to make them really healthy and really delicious.
Yes.
We're going to start off with doing an eggplant lasagna. This is going to have some great ricotta cheese. You're going to have some freshly grilled eggplant. Note the recipe calls for actually roasting it, but the grilling it's going to speed it up and add an additional layer of flavor. And then also we're going to do some classic turkey meatballs as well. A little Parmesan cheese in there, some lean ground turkey.
And your protein.
And then also we'll have some delicious zero carb garlic bread as well. Yum, 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 yum.
Best thing ever, right?
Best thing
Anything
ever.
with garlic really is going to be
Exactly,
good,
right. So what we're going to do for that, guys, is typically we use butter, but we're actually going to use extra virgin olive oil for our fat, as it's much healthier. We'll use some fresh garlic there as well.
I love it.
Yum, yum, yum.
I welcome everyone to give us your questions. We'll be checking in with you periodically. And I do want to thank everyone already that has joined us. Feel free to ask whatever you'd like, even if it doesn't have to do with our recipe, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're here for you guys. We love your questions. So without further ado, we're going to get cooking here. So we're going to start off with our eggplant, classic Italian eggplant. I love eggplant. It's super healthy. It's great for you.
Lots of vitamins and minerals.
Lots of vitamin and minerals. Often sort of an overlooked vegetable, but really easy to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off. We're just going to simply trim off the top here. Then we're going to trim off the bottom. So the goal being to give us a flat surface on which to work. This is really critical. Now, the key here, now that we have a flat surface to work on, we're not cutting like this with it wobbling around. We're going to cut like this.
And we have to have our safety.
Exactly. So we are going to cut straight down. Don't be so worried about the thickness of the first one. You really want to focus on that second piece. So what you're looking for here is about 1/4 of an inch worth of thickness here. This is really critical to the actual end result of the recipe.
Now, could you use something like a mandolin or a vegetable peeler for more precision?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I'm no sleeve chef, and I know myself that I cannot cut things thinly, but I like them thin.
Yep.
So I think that's a good idea.
Yep. Mandolin is great. A couple things to note with a mandolin: use a guide. Use a cover. That thing that comes with it that you put onto it and you slide.
Use
it. Trust me. As an experienced professional who has cut himself on a mandolin before, use the safety features. They're there for a reason. I'm talking to you, men.
Oh.
I know the women are smart enough to use the safety features.
Yes.
Looking at you, men.
Well, thank you to Chris, Billy Joel, Xanda, Joe, Terry, Laura, Joe,
all
Chris.
Right. All of our friends are here tonight.
Everyone's here.
Love
Lauren.
it.
Thank you guys so much for coming and for supporting. And yes, you are seeing an earpiece.
You are.
We're using some higher tech equipment.
Higher tech.
Which is
My hair is not
exciting.
hiding the earpiece, unfortunately.
No. Okay, good.
So all we're gonna do now, guys, is rub our eggplant down with some extra virgin olive oil. Real simple here.
And if you don't feel like using your fingers, you can use a little brush as well.
Exactly.
And now we're using the eggplant as an actual pasta layer
instead
of your traditional lasagna layer. But I have been finding some really cool products on the market right now. Most of them are online products, but I did find Konjac has lasagna noodles.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And Gretchen Smutney, if you're out there, thank you for your help on finding some of these products with me. I am going to be releasing a new low-carb swap item list for everyone. So Gretchen helped me out with that. And one of those items was the Konjac.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. So let this guy get nice and hot here.
Okay. And Kimberly and Kim, thank you guys for coming. Our other Joe, thank you for coming. And some of the other types of pastas, if you wanted to check them out, are going to be like the Impostable. If you ever looked at Thin Slim products.
Sure.
We're going to actually be using a Thin Slim product tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The teaser.
I know. That's going to be our garlic bread. Yum. And then spaghetti squash and zucchini noodles, obviously the classics, right?
Classic.
And the Great Low Carb Bread Company. That's a really cool line of products because they have pasta and bread just like the Thin Slim. And kohlrabi noodles and shirataki noodles.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of different ones out there.
Absolutely.
Which is really nice.
So next up, guys, I'm just going to mince a little bit of garlic here. I've already taken that garlic cloves, crushed them already. And we're just going to do a quick mince. You may have noticed I picked up my eggplant off of my grill pan here. I did that because the pan was actually not hot enough when I went into it initially. So keep that in mind. It's really important to make sure that your pans are hot enough. You can either check the heat by simply putting some garlic oil in there, or you can be really carefully put your hand over the top of it here as well. And that, thank you. And that will allow us to check for the heat that's actually resonating off of the pan itself.
So does it need to be like sizzling by the time you put it on there?
You want to see a little bit of heat. You want to see it kind of smoking just a bit here.
All
right. We'll get
right.
up there shortly.
Great. And I want to thank Tova and Carla for coming on. Okay. Now, so Billy said, I've tried to do a spaghetti squash, but I can't get past the crunch. What can I do to soften it up more? I feel like I cooked it for a long time. Okay. Now, that's going to be like I would say a microwave first. Get some of the moisture out and then bake it. What do you think?
So I would say, I would like to know how it was cooked initially.
Yeah, Billy, if you let us know how it was
That's a really
cooked.
key question. So if you cooked it and how long you cooked it for. Because typically with spaghetti squash, what I like to do is you take it, very carefully cut it in half, scoop out the seeds, and then preheat oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and then on a sheet tray, put the squash in the oven, then put a little bit of water underneath of it, just so it comes up. So it'll basically steam the inside of the squash and help soften it up as well. And you'll know it's done and softer when you take a knife and then put the knife through it and feel little to no resistance when you go into the squash itself.
And And if I've ever cooked spaghetti squash and I found that it was a little bit crunchy, I would take whatever noodles there were, and I'd actually put it into a pan and saute it until it felt right.
Yep, exactly.
You know, if you just can't get it perfect. And Laura was asking, should this be a grill pan or can it just be a regular pan?
Ideally a grill pan, but if you want to use a regular pan too, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
I recommend just a wider pan, similar to this, like a wider frying pan, just because you want to be able to put your eggplant in there without and get that proper, so that it's big enough to actually support the eggplant itself.
Okay. And again, the recipe calls for it to be grilled, but there's only so much equipment that we have here, so we're using the pan as well.
Exactly.
And Chanel and Shayna, thanks guys for joining us. And Carla, hello. Carla was our last guest.
All right, so we've got some baby portobello mushrooms here, sliced up, going into our pan. We're going to saute those as we're waiting for our eggplant to finish cooking.
All right, and just to remind guests what we're cooking, we're doing a lasagna, quote unquote, right? Because we're using the eggplant slices as our lasagna noodles.
Exactly.
And we're doing some baby portobello mushrooms in there with some fresh herbs, and we're doing a low-carb garlic bread and some turkey meatballs.
Delicious turkey meatballs, indeed.
Yes. And we're going to use some of the tomato sauce that we're using is going to be low sugar. So you want your tomato sauces to be 5 grams of sugar or less, or you make your own, whichever one you want.
Right, absolutely. That's a really good point. You really want to keep an eye on the sugar content of those tomato sauces. Making your own, always recommended if you have the time to do it. It's one of those things, if you want to make a bunch of it, you could do it in like an Instapot and kind of set it and forget it for a little while.
That's a great idea.
Just keep in mind of how you initially stem the tomatoes is a big thing. But once you get past that point, then you can really rely on that Instapot just to allow it to cook for a long period of time and sort of set and forget.
And most of the canned stewed tomatoes, they won't have added sugar in it.
Right.
You can always check that it doesn't, but usually it's just the regular tomatoes in there, so that's nice. Yeah. And we have Chris talking about the Rite Aid nonstick pan. Well, today we're using a cast iron.
The famous Rite Aid nonstick pan.
When we did not bring a pan.
That somebody who shall remain nameless forgot a pan.
So, see, we have fun here.
All right, these like looking great.
All right, and Kathleen, hello, thanks for coming. And please feel free, guys, to send us your questions. Yeah. I do want to make a note, though. I want to make a shameless plug. How about that? This Thursday, at 6:30, we are having our first support group of the year. So you come to the Civiletti Center in the East Pavilion at GBMC, 6:30 p.m., and we're going to be talking about exercise.
Perfect.
Okay.
This
Thursday.
That's exciting.
All right. And Dorothy,
guys.
Thanks for coming.
So we've got our eggplant grill in here. So this is what we're looking for. So see these nice marks on the eggplant?
That looks
right
great.
Here. This is what we're looking for.
All right, Tina, thank you for coming. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Dr. Dovek made some big announcements about yesterday or the day before. We're having some really big rollout items for 2019. They're going to be really great.
Yeah.
I am going to be visiting all of the post-op patients in the hospital right before everyone gets discharged. So hopefully these big changes will make a splash, and I hope that everyone supports it.
Yeah,
that'll just be good. So we're trying everything out. We'll see how it goes. We love feedback.
Yep.
So if you don't know what I'm talking about, do refer to Dr. Dovek's very big post the other day. It's pretty awesome, and we have some really cool stuff coming out.
That's great. All right, guys. So we are ready to start building our lasagna. So we've got our pan here. We are going to add just a little bit of tomato sauce as well to start off with, right in the bottom of our pan.
First layer tomato.
First layer tomato. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just take our spatula and spread this guy out. I like to start in the middle and then work my way towards the outsides. Okay, we're not going to do the whole pan here. I'm just going to work towards the outside. So just like building a traditional lasagna.
Yeah.
All right. We'll lay our eggplant in here first.
Lisa, hello. Tina, hi.
So again, guys, we're gonna cook this in the oven. Remember, there we go. There is the beauty. Baby. Yum, yum, yum of those grill marks. Good. So remember, guys, we are going to be cooking this back in the oven, so you don't have to worry about softening the eggplant up too much. I'd say about 2 to 3 minutes, both sides on that eggplant.
And Carla was asking if she could use a white sauce instead. I have an opinion about it. I will say it first.
Sure.
White sauces often ends up being very, very high in calories and saturated fats. So if you can get a low-fat version or make a low-fat version, that's always the best.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, if you can do that,
yeah. If you want to go that route and go white sauce, I would say from a recipe standpoint, don't be expecting traditional lasagna, and by that I mean the acidity from the tomatoes really helps to cut through the richness of the cheese that goes into this dish. So by adding one more layer of fat, which is that white sauce, it's going to be a bit creamier, a bit richer. So if that's what you're looking for, please, by all means. But I would just note that you're going to be missing that layer of acidity that people might be used to in a traditional lasagna. That'd be my only thing from a culinary standpoint.
And then you can always add, maybe if you were interested in a little bit of acidity, thin layers of actual tomatoes.
Right,
if you wanted
exactly.
To do
yeah,
that.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
You can just take some beefsteak tomatoes, fine up tomatoes, cut them in on the long bias, and just lay them in so people still got that tomato because they'll roast up nicely.
And you know what, Carla? You make a really good point of the acid reflux.
Yeah.
So, which is a really good reminder that anyone that is within their first 90 days after surgery, you should be taking your omeprazole, which is,
lifesaver.
Yes. So, you're prescribed that for a reason, for healing and for reflux. But yeah, Carla, good point. Some people do have reflux.
That is a good point.
And Shayna, yep, you will be waking up to me. Hello, in the hospital.
All right, guys,
good,
so we're going to build this lasagna out. So we've got our grilled eggplant slices here. We're going to take a little bit of ricotta cheese next and pop this guy in. Get a nice little spread out here as well. Just a little bit. That cheese, as it warms up, will spread.
And it does feel a little bit like, an eggplant parm.
Exactly.
Which if you love eggplant parm, which I love.
I was going to say I do too.
I mean, it's the best. And I mean, certainly if you wanted to add like thin layers of chicken or something like that into this, you could.
Absolutely. So then we're going to do our mushrooms next, our mushrooms and garlic next on here. Yum, yum. Again, we're just going to very carefully spread this over our eggplant as well. We would add an initial layer in here, guys, but we're actually not going to.
And if you wanted to add some greens or anything like that, a nice layer of spinach or kale might be nice just for some extra vitamins, fiber, and just color.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so finally on this, we are going to add just a bit of Parmesan cheese in here as well. Love Parmesan cheese.
It gives that umami flavor, right?
Yeah, nice nuttiness. Again, just add this in.
Has anyone out there ever heard of the word umami?
It's that sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami.
Yes.
You'd be so kind as to pop this into the oven. Thank you. Guys, our oven's going to be 350 degrees. We're going to cook it for about 20 to 25 minutes. Keep in mind that eggplant is already cooked, as are those mushrooms. So really, we're just kind of, it's more of a warming than anything else, is how I would describe it.
Good.
All right, so next up will be our turkey meatballs. So we've got our lean ground turkey breast to start off with in our pan, and then we're going to add in to that, we're going to add in our minced garlic.
Great. And if you're not really fond of eggplant, I see that Lauren was asking about an eggplant replacement. We were just talking right before the show.
We were.
About using something like zucchini, something that's very easy, thin to slice. And, you could always add the spinach. You could add onions, tomatoes. Do we have a question?
We do.
So I see Mike mincing up this garlic, he's a professional and it's got his nice, finger curl and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So what suggestions you have for those of us who don't have such fabulous knife skills?
I love that question.
That is a great question, Melissa. So one of the things that I like to recommend is two things. One, go out and buy some already previously peeled fresh garlic. You can find that a lot of local grocery stores, a lot of big box stores will carry freshly peeled garlic. That's the first thing. Second thing is using a Roboku, a little food processor. Simple little food processor. Pop those peeled garlic in there. Give it a quick blitz. The quick blitz will be like a chop. And then if you want to mince it finer, then just simply give it a couple more blitzes. Take a plastic spatula, scrape it down to get any larger pieces. A few more blitzes, and you're right there. So really simple. Great question. Really simple. You can do the same thing with onions. You can do the same thing with bell peppers if you want to go that way. Just make sure you seed them properly ahead of time. So those little food processors really do come in handy.
I also use a garlic press. However, it really makes a fine kind of like mushy chop. But at the same time, what you could do, since it's much more fine, you can cook it for less time because of the surface area.
Speaking of time, we actually just put some fresh thyme in our yeah, it's called transition. I like it.
Beautiful.
All right, so we're doing a little fresh chopped oregano in here as well. Love oregano.
All right, and then also the idea of the skinny pasta konjac lasagna, you might want to try that. It's called skinny pasta konjac lasagna if you really wanted something that felt more like lasagna instead of the zucchini or the eggplant. And Christy, awesome. Putting spaghetti squash in the Instant Pot will make it much softer.
Yeah.
That was a great
recommendation.
Great recommendation. And if you're just joining us, we just finished up the eggplant, quote unquote, lasagna. And what are we starting up right now?
Yes, so we are starting up our turkey meatballs. So we've got some lean ground turkey. When I say lean ground, I mean 99% lean. That's actually the muscle to protein ratio that goes into the ground mixture. So if you see like 80-20, 90-10, that's what they're referring to. So those higher numbers, that lower fat content is really what you ideally want to seek out.
Yeah. And why don't you show the audience a little bit more?
Yes.
Of this?
We have some beautiful. We've got our fresh egg in here. We've got some fresh thyme, some minced garlic. To Melissa's point, she asked a great question about that. Again, use a little food processor there to help mince that garlic up. Some fresh whole garlic. Some fresh thyme, fresh oregano. I added a little egg to add just a bit more fat. To the dish itself. And then we've just got some beautiful. So it's real fresh, light. Always go fresh over dried ingredients in this situation, guys.
Oh, and some really awesome suggestions from our audience. Nicole. Now, I totally forgot about this. They have the butternut squash planks.
There you go.
That you can use for any of the lasagna.
Love it.
So thank you, Nicole. And then Shayna was saying that they have a mini food processor right now at Walmart for like less than $9.
Yep. Check it out. Make sure it has a blade that comes off.
Yeah.
Make sure you can run it through the dishwasher, all those great things.
Okay, good. And then Carla told us that Target has frozen garlic cubes.
Nice. Interesting.
So you don't even have to...
I'd always go fresh over frozen, but if you want to use those, please feel free.
Yeah. And then Tivoli, welcome, and Christina. All right.
All right, guys. We're going to mix this guy around just a bit here.
Chris was saying that if you like making meatballs, you can do it in your air fryer too.
Yeah, for sure.
Easy.
Yep, you can bake them if you want to go that route. Meatballs are great as an option to do in like a what do you call it? An Instant Pot is always kind of a good option if you want to go that route.
Yeah, make them nice and juicy.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep in mind that you might not get that browning that you might be used to seeing.
But you'll get something different.
Exactly.
You know? And I will say, like, for the lazy, for the people that don't chop their, I use sometimes frozen meatballs, frozen turkey burgers, frozen. So the proteins are going to always be frozen, and then the side dishes are going to be made. Yeah. So if you're just not into making, the turkey meatballs, there's plenty of options for organic, less processed frozen meatballs that you can certainly buy.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Jana. Yeah. And then also, guys, so one thing to note here, too, is we've got our turkey. We've got all that we're waiting for our pan to get hot. So what do we do while we're kind of waiting for things to happen? I'll tell you what we do is we actually start off with our 0-cal here for our bread, and we start doing our garlic bread next.
Very cool. And I just want to show the packaging.
Yes.
because a lot of people haven't tried this one yet. This is the zero carb bread. It's made by Thin Slim Foods. You can get it at thinslimfoods.com. I don't work for them, but I do love their product because the actual bread itself has a nice texture to it. It feels like actual bread, and you can eat it, you know, whether it's not toasted or toasted, and you can store it in the freezer.
Yep, great points.
And it has a really high fiber content. That's what makes the net carbs so low. So it's actually pretty good for your gut as well.
Just gonna lay a few pieces in here. So traditional garlic bread, guys, what you do is you traditionally do a little bit of what's called a compound butter, where we add a little bit of parsley, a little bit of fresh butter, then some fresh garlic to that, smear that onto the bread, and then we pop that in the oven and allow that to slowly toast up. That's your traditional, traditional garlic bread, right?
All right, and while we're waiting, I just want to say hello to Shawan, Latia. Terry was asking what temp and for how long do you cook? Do you cook everything, basically, I guess?
Oh, great. So great question. So the eggplants, we did those over the... We did the eggplant over the on the grill. So that eggplant lasagna is going to be about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 for at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The garlic bread, you can also toast that at the same temperature as well. I definitely recommend doing it that way. And then also for the turkey meatballs, we are actually going to cook those in our saute pan. Right, garlic here. Yum, yum, yum.
And again, using the a brush for the oil is a really nice way to thinly put the oil on, like very neatly, nicely on the bread. So if you want to make it look very pretty.
Now, the traditional way that I've seen people do this is they actually just take a little bit of crushed garlic here and just kind of rub it on the bread.
Oh, interesting.
To get that essence of garlic without being too much.
So I'm going to go a little bit that way.
I would say it's never enough.
Yeah, you can never have enough garlic.
You can never have enough garlic.
I agree with that sentiment.
From Melissa herself.
All right, so if you could pop this guy in the oven as well, Jana.
All right, sounds good to me.
And then next up, guys, we're going to go ahead and start frying up our turkey meatballs. So again, we'll real quick patty these out. You can kind of eye up how big you want these to be or how small you want these to be. Give them a nice roll in your hand. So you'll see here, this is what we're looking for. This is the size I like to make.
And if you're curious about protein content when you're making these, just to make sure that you're reaching your protein goals per meal, which are about 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, you can always make these and then use a little scale and see how many ounces they are. And basically, it's about 7 grams of protein per ounce. So if you get, 3 to 4 ounces, 21 to 28 grams of protein right there.
Exactly. Yep. And guys, you can again make these. I like to personally, my recommendation is to make these bite-sized. Yes, Melissa, question.
So Jen, you said about you bake them then measure them.
So yes, that's what we recommend, because what's going to happen is that some of the juices are going to come out, and then you get the real weight of them.
Exactly. So
have much loss because they're so low in fat.
Correct.
So for example, like you go out to eat, and their menu is, oh, it's an 8-ounce steak. Well, sure, it's 8 ounces before you cook it.
Yeah, and then
if you get your steak cooked medium rare, that is going to weigh 6.5 ounces. Or if you get it well done, then you're looking at 5.5 ounces. It looks smaller because it weighs less.
And essentially, when you're looking at something, about 3 ounces is about the size of a deck of cards. So if you're just eyeballing it, if you're out at, at a nice dinner or whatever, and you get the steak, you really might not know how many ounces exactly it is.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well, is that you can always, the best piece of advice I got when I was first starting out was the idea of being able to, you can just, if you don't eat all of it, that's fine. Take it with you.
Yeah.
Take it home, take it with you.
Yeah, exactly. Always ask for a doggy bag.
Exactly. And, don't be afraid to cut it in half, like grab put half of it to go, take it for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, even before you eat it, you can ask for a to-go box.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to answer one of these questions that Chris asked. You can't find a lot of these specialty items in the actual stores. So things like the Thin Slim Zero Carb bread, you know, some of the types of pasta that I listed out earlier, that's going to all be online. And I like to go to a certain website called netrition.com. It's spelled like nutrition, but netrition.com. And you can click on categories and then click on low carb, and you can see all of the options that they have. Some of them are a little bit higher in carbs and aren't going to be great for our diet, but most of them are perfectly fine. And then Thin Slim Zero Carb bread is thinslimfoods.com. Okay.
Great. Yep. So we're frying up our turkey meatballs here, guys. These will take anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes per side for these to fry up. You want to cook these fully through. You would get some nice browning on the outside. If you're worried about them being done, if you're like, oh, I don't have time to watch a pan. I've got kids, they're running around. What do I do? Very, very simple. Put them, fry them up in the pan initially. Pop them in on a sheet tray. Put them in the oven, 350, for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes until they're fully cooked.
Yeah, and I just want to answer a question to Tova. Hi, Tova.
Hi, Tova.
You asked a really interesting question. Is the Parmesan in the meatballs to hold it all together? And when you're following something like a kosher diet, you can't put cheese and meat together.
Right.
So it's the dairy and the meat that can't be together. So if you're looking for a different product to hold the meatballs together, you can absolutely use something like an almond flour.
Yeah.
Okay, almond flour, coconut flour. Coconut might be a little bit weird, but the almond flour has a very mild taste to it, and that should hold everything together.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yep, and keep in mind too, what's fun about these recipes, guys, is that you can modify this however, if you prefer ground turkey, ground chicken, for example, to ground turkey, you're more than welcome to use that instead of the ground turkey.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I like lean ground beef, do the exact same thing. Separate it out. You could do lean ground beef just like you could do lean ground turkey.
Right. And I do have to make a note because I know Chris was a little upset that some of these products aren't, in our store shelves, but they're specialty products. So if they're not selling out, then they're not going to have them shelved in the stores. And that's why you get them online. And we just have to be thankful that they're available to begin with.
To say Amazon is your friend.
Yes. And then Steve was asking, does Thin Slim have lasagna noodles? I don't think that they have lasagna noodles, but they do have a ton of different, like elbow noodles, fettuccine. And then the Konjac, the skinny pasta Konjac, has lasagna noodles. So that's a good one to look for.
And so see here, guys, this is exactly what we're looking for our meatballs. See that color? See that browning on the top, that Maillard reaction? That's exactly what we're looking for.
Okay, great.
On those turkey meatballs. And now, from one of my favorite little tricks, in order to cook something a little quicker. Yes, Melissa, question.
Well, Jana keeps mentioning these Konjac noodles.
Yes.
I have attempted the shirataki noodles.
Yes.
They smell. So
Okay.
I don't like them. So I'm wondering about the Konjac noodles because I've seen that name, but I've been leery to attempt them.
Okay, so Melissa brings up a great point. Some of the Konjac and the shirataki and the miracle noodles and the skinny pasta, they do have somewhat of a scent when you open up the bag. What I like to do is just, to me the scent isn't that strong, but if it's strong to you, take it, quickly throw it into a strainer and throw some water right on top of it for kind of a while, and then pat it down and use it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great
the best
point.
way.
And again, keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with the product itself. It may give that little off smell. That doesn't mean that the product is bad. I'd always say check your expiration date if you're really concerned. But beyond that, it's just sort of the nature of the product.
Right.
And it's nothing.
It shouldn't be too strong.
Yep. And
I
there's
guess,
plenty of videos
what you
online
can say.
talking about how to prepare them, how to handle them, what to expect with these products. So real quick, guys, you may be like, why did you cover up the food? Why can't I see the meatballs right now?
Yeah, what's going on?
So what's going on is we are basically, if you're in a pinch and you need to cook something quicker, you're basically making a little convection oven here, right? So we're trapping our heat, and we're allowing that heat that's escaping the pan to basically start recirculating through, creating a little convection oven, thereby cooking our meatballs faster than we would if the meat was, say, escaping from the pan, as you see here.
All right, and Nicole is going to make these meatballs mini for a snack.
Yes,
I love
it, Nicole.
it. All right,
Melissa,
Melissa.
question.
With that tip you just gave, that's really cool. Does that work with any lid, or do you want to use
any
it
lid?
With so any lid. So it's not just like a trick for a pan.
Right, exactly. So you could use a pan as a lid like I'm doing here. You can use a traditional pot lid. Obviously make sure that it can sustain the heat that's coming to it. I like a pan. It's sort of a quicker way, but you want to use a lid that's going to fully cover.
Right.
You can use tin foil too.
That pan, that's actually allowing a little bit of the steam to come out.
Yep.
So you're not going to develop a lot of condensation, so you won't lose your crust on your meatballs.
Exactly.
Oh,
good idea.
We got a smart one. That's a really good point.
Let me go check on the lasagna.
Sarah and Ricky, thank you guys for coming. And please feel free to ask any questions. We're in the midst of making our turkey meatballs with lean ground turkey. We just made our eggplant lasagna and our garlic bread on low carb bread. And you know, a lot of this stuff, it's going to be after the first month, the first 6 to 8 weeks after surgery. You might have to wait a little while on this stuff because it might be a little bit harder to digest. And with the tomato sauce, it might be a little bit acidic.
Yep.
So you just want to wait a little bit.
And again, guys, it's just, if you want to omit the tomato sauce, you're more than welcome. You know, somebody brought up a great point earlier about, oh, well, maybe I can add cheese, or maybe I can add, you know, like a white sauce instead of a tomato sauce. Again, that's perfectly fine. Just keep in mind that white sauce is going to have an additional, you know, fat content to it. So again, just all things to keep in mind as you're cooking for yourself. We want to make sure that you go, oh, it's great, it's healthy. It's a eggplant lasagna with a white sauce. Well, it's healthy, but you may not be. You're going to, if you change that one variable, you could potentially be adding some additional fat. So let's make sure that we know. As Jana always points out.
Essentially, the bariatric diet is low carb, low fat.
Right.
And the reason for the low fat is because it takes a lot for that tiny little stomach to process and break down and digest that fat.
Yeah.
So it might hurt your stomach over time. And, you know, there's also the idea that lowering the fat content lowers the caloric content.
Yeah.
Because fat per gram is over double the amount of calories than protein per gram. So you're always going to get more calories with something that's super duper high in fat.
All right, guys. So as you can see, as the magic of television here, we got our lasagna out of our oven here.
Beautiful.
We've got this beautiful eggplant lasagna. You can see the mushrooms on top. You've got the ricotta cheese in there as well. We're going to, ideally, if you have it be in there for anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll get this beautiful, beautiful coloration. That's what you're looking for. On the top here, I recommend putting a little bit. So basically double the layering here as well. And then keep your eggplant in the same direction too.
And again, remember, you can sub out some of those, you know, the eggplant or any of the vegetables that are in there. And I just want to say, Shayna, great idea. Let's open up a bariatric store. I'm in. And what kind of butter was used for the garlic bread? Sorry, I missed that. We didn't actually use butter.
Great question. We love the follow-up questions, guys. Yeah, Jenna's right. We did not use butter. So we used a fat. So if you hear me use the word fat, I'm referring to oil. I'm referring, you know, saturated or unsaturated fats is basically where we're going here. So you've got the saturated fats in the butter, nutritional animal fats, you know, from cows, beef, chicken, etc. And then you've got the unsaturated fats that you get from plants, from vegetables, vegetable oil, extra virgin olive oil, for example, in our case, which is what we use. We use extra virgin olive oil, and then we also used some fresh garlic that we rubbed on the bread, and then we also added a bit of that fresh garlic in as well.
Okay. And then just to make a note, because someone asked about ghee, and I get questions on ghee, coconut oil, avocado oil, all of these different types of oils. But guess what? Calorically, nutritionally, they are basically the same. So 1 tablespoon equals about 100 to 120 calories for all oils. Now, ghee is clarified butter, so it gives you the proteins that you might not get from other oils, but at the same time, again, it's all fat. So you can choose which fats you use. There are huge health claims about ghee and about coconut oil. I would take those with a grain of salt.
Your sources should be academic. Just a friendly reminder. Well, I read somebody's blog, and this person's blog says that it's good for me. Therefore, it's good for me. Not necessarily.
If it changes someone else's life, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will change your life.
Especially if they're working for big oil.
Oh. Whoa.
Got jokes. Not just a pretty face.
And Kathleen was asking if I could post the types of pastas and breads that I mentioned. I am going to be posting a whole list of breads, pastas, cookies, cakes, crackers, chips, everything that you can think of that you can find on netrition.com. And so definitely look out for that, but it'll be a whole big list that you can refer to.
This girl right here.
Yes, Laura, no, not. She goes, everything on the internet is true, right?
Yes, exactly. Of course it is.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for all the participation. This was really fun.
Love the questions, guys. Please keep them coming. As always, please share our videos as well. Please tell your friends about us.
And I do like the commentary. I like what people are thinking and, what people like, what people don't like. It's really actually very helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Chris is surprised that we didn't do another Super Bowl show, but guess what? Is coming up. We are definitely doing a football show next time. So
absolutely.
Just hold tight.
All right, guys.
We've already thought of it.
We are going to cut up our eggplant lasagna here.
And so I'm going to go grab.
You really want to give this a little bit of time to help it set. Keep in mind, it's not going to set like a traditional lasagna, so you might see a bit of layering. And you can cut it like a traditional lasagna as well here. I like to go about in the 4s. And then we'll go 3rd down the side here again.
Okay, yes. And if you want to look up the bread, some of the ones that I recommend are the Thin Slim, obviously. The No Better buns, Great Low Carb Company bread and bagels, and the Paleo Thin breads. And if you would like to come to my support group this Thursday at 6:30 in the Civiletti Center, I will be giving that list as well when you get there.
All right.
Okay. So, Chris, you want a Valentine's Day show, but you also want a football show. Maybe we'll combine the two.
Maybe.
That'll be fun.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other suggestions? We're open to it because most likely we may have thought of it, but we may not have. So
please, we love show suggestions, guys. Always happy to hear what you're thinking, what you're looking for. How do I do this? How do I do that?
Yeah, we recently got another breakfast suggestion.
Oh, I love it.
But we wanted a non-egg breakfast show.
Ooh.
So we can think of that.
I got some ideas. All right, so we've got our beautiful eggplant lasagna here as well. Let me just slide this guy off to the side.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we've got our beautiful eggplant lasagna here. We've got our eggplant lasagna. Got some freshly grilled eggplant with marinara sauce, some ricotta cheese, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, some freshly sauteed mushrooms, and then we've got our fresh garlic bread here as well. And then finally our Italian turkey meatballs. Janie, thank you very much.
And I did get a question if this is keto. Some of it is keto. The tomato sauce might be upping the carbs a little bit. And I will say, just as a general rule of thumb, a blanket statement, if you will, I don't usually recommend the keto diet because it is way too high in fat and too low in protein. We do, after bariatric surgery, higher in protein, lower in fat in order to make sure that we don't lose our muscle while we're losing weight rapidly. Some of the keto recipes are great, but I would use the low-fat versions on the keto recipe. So, for instance, if it calls for like cream cheese or sour cream, you use the low-fat versions of those to make it bariatric friendly.
Yeah, I will
go.
I will also note too that the body needs protein more than it needs fat.
Yes.
Especially if you're exercising and working out, and etc.
Okay, good. Great.
All right.
Can we try these?
Yeah,
all right, Melissa, let's get you up. Okay, and again,
fork and knife here.
Like I always say, this is my mother's favorite part of the show.
Exactly.
She gets very upset if we don't try things.
Yum, yum.
Let's dish this out.
Let's dish this out indeed.
Okay.
All right, so a couple meatballs for everybody here.
Perfect. Should we Should we cut the?
Yes. You should
Okay.
definitely cut the lasagna. Grab a knife if you would.
Okay.
Cut this bad boy up.
And I'm gonna come over here and
do.
cut. Actually, this is already cut a little bit.
Great. Yeah.
I'm just gonna grab a small
do.
amount.
Just up in here, Melissa.
Okay. Here you go.
Thank you.
I'm gonna grab this.
Go ahead.
Excuse my reach.
Pardon my reach. Listen to the professional behind me.
I know, right?
Love it.
I
Pardon my
try.
reach. Little garlic bread for everybody to
Ooh,
have.
yum.
Yum, yum,
Ooh,
yum.
That's the part I've been waiting for the most.
Yum, yum, yum. Jenna, for yourself.
Thank you very
Garlic
much.
bread. Garlic bread. All right,
Okay.
let's dig in, shall we?
Very good.
Oh, I'm gonna try the eggplant first.
I guess I should grab a
fork?
Yes, that would work.
Mmm.
Okay.
Yum.
So I'm trying the this first.
I'm trying the
bread.
meatball.
I'm trying the meatball first, and I'm dipping it into.
Oh my goodness, this is so good.
That's great.
Delicious. It's tender.
The eggplant's
Even
great.
though it's turkey, it's still tender and moist and
Yep. Yeah, that's where that,
Yeah,
where that
lots of
extra
flavor.
egg will really help. We've also got our turkey meatball here as well. It is delicious.
The eggplant is great. Perfect. And one more
I
bite.
love the fresh ingredients. With garlic bread.
flavor on the parmesan or the lasagna. It's even though it's a lower sugar
Yeah.
tomato, because there's so many other spices and
like elements to
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
like helps
So many,
to cover up
additional
that.
layers coming in there.
All
as
right.
well.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you again so
We have
much.
our last
thank
bite.
you so much to Melissa.
Thank you
for
so
joining us
much
as
for
well.
coming. Thank you for your questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you for cooking.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, again, if you have questions after the show, please feel free to let us know. We're always here to answer those questions for you. You know, we really appreciate you tuning in. Please share our video with your friends. Thank you WMER2 for the use of this beautiful studio.
We love our kitchen.
Absolutely, we love our kitchen, guys. Thank you so much. We love doing these videos for you. I guess that being said, it's pretty much to wrap up.
Yeah, we'll see you
for
next
Jana
time.
Wolff and myself, I'm Michael Salamon. Thank you to Melissa for joining us.
Yes.
And thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the evening. We will see you next month. Good evening.
Thank you guys.